Welcome to 10-Minute Type Advice by Personality Hacker. I'm Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
This show features questions from the Personality Hacker community that we answer in about 10 minutes. We've been using personality types in our coaching for years, and we'd love to answer your questions about personal growth through the lens of type. You can find out more about us at personalityhacker.com. Okay, now let's hear today's question.
Hello, Personality Hacker. My name is Lydia, and I have a question related to sensory as a 3-year-old process, or the blind spot, I guess, in the car model. I tested as an INFJ, and I also have several friends who are INTJs, and I see this taking place quite a bit, our tendency to self-sabotage and overindulge. And I am curious if you could kind of explore the processes that happen before we dive into that overindulgence, like what causes us to go to that place, and then also what are some tactics we can use to maybe guard against that or leverage this knowledge of ourselves. I self-sabotage a lot through overindulgence, and I'm kind of tired of it. So what are some pieces of advice that you could give me, the other INFJs and INTJs out there who have this sensory process as our 3-year-old process? Thanks so much. Super appreciate you guys and everything that you're doing. Have a good one.
Thanks, Lydia, for the question. You are not wrong. INTJs and INFJs struggle with this. That 3-year-old inferior process for both of those personality types is extroverted sensing. We've nicknamed it sensation. It's all about the present moment. It's about max aliveness, about effortless flow. It's about not having multiple perspectives, but being in that single perspective of the here and now in this moment, this reality that I'm experiencing right here, right now. And so it would make sense that anytime that you want to access this part of yourself as an INJ, INTJ, or INFJ, you can do it in a healthy way. You can find activities to access this part of yourself, or there's so many technologies and opportunities, with food or substance or high intensity type things we can put into our body or experience that we can synthesize that max aliveness, for example, in that process at the 3-year-old or inferior level for INTJs or INFJs.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, it's really looking for an experience. It's looking for a sensory experience in the moment. So why are you not doing it until it's not doing it well is the question, right? Why is it coming up and ripping, like the 3-year-old is grabbing the wheel of the car, and now you find yourself in impulsive and indulgent behaviors? And there's a couple different things that usually diagnose what's going on here. One is that you are not paying enough attention to this part of who you are. It's a valid part. It's a part that's actually very important to your personality construction. And if you don't pay attention to it on a regular basis, it is like any other 3-year-old. It's going to start throwing a temper tantrum to get your attention. And as a parent, remember when my 3-year-old threw a temper tantrum, it was all hands on deck and everything stopped to pay attention to it. And it was like, basically in that moment, Piper got what she had been needing that I hadn't been paying attention to, right? And so it could be she had a need going unmet and then she got it met. It could be that it was just me looking at her and paying her attention. But if you spend too much time avoiding this part of who you are, it's going to throw a temper tantrum, which shows up differently for every personality type. And for INJs, it tends to look like sensory overindulgence. So not paying enough attention to it. In a counterintuitive way, not paying attention to it is going to lead to overindulgence. Another time or other experiences or time periods where you're going to have this phenomena show up is when your driver function is overtaxed, which means that you've been doing it too much. It's a bit of one-sidedness. And that not only ignores your 3-year-old, but it also puts your driver in a position of exhaustion. So you're using it, it's your hero function, you think it's going to save the day in every context, and yet there are some circumstances and situations in which it's just not the right tool for the job. So you keep trying to throw this function at it, right? I'll figure it out by shifting perspectives. I'll just get inside my head and then I'll know, right? And I'm just going to ruminate, and somehow it's not getting solved. It might be a moment in which taking action is the right thing to do. And so suddenly your 3-year-old's available, but you're not used to using it because you've been overdoing your driver. And now it's showing up in a very unintegrated state. It's going, bump, here I am. And now it's surfacing in a way that you've only been engaging with it before through indulgence. So regardless of what's going on, it's a neglect of the 3-year-old or it's an overtaxing of the driver. Regardless, the prescription is the same. And that prescription is to integrate the 3-year-old part of who you are, which is have a relationship with it, make peace with it, take time out, productivity time, set aside to have a relationship with this part of who you are. So knowing that you need experiences in your life, knowing that it's a part of you that needs to have a feeling of max aliveness and a part of you that needs to have a feeling of effortless flow. It needs to get out of your, basically you need to get out of your head and get into your body on a semi-regular basis. And I would say that the biggest gift that there's a couple different gifts that this function can give an INJ. One of them is courage. All right, this is a part of you that's highly courageous. It wants experiences. It wants that feeling of adrenaline, and it'll go get them, right? And adrenaline usually means that you're in what's called a eustress situation, which is good, positive, happy stress. It's like the stress you feel when you're on a roller coaster. It's looking for eustress situations. And so give it to them, right? Give your 3-year-old eustress, courage, high intensity, adrenaline fueled experiences on a semi-regular basis. That means getting outside your comfort zone, doing things that maybe don't feel like they're that safe, right? But they require some courage. Those are things that are positive for INJs, and you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to avoid it. And yet that's how you pay that part of you attention so that it doesn't go to more indulgent behaviors. The other thing is to be in situations of true presence. What we find is that with INJs, they will almost always indulge in things that will give them a sensory hit through the act of not being present. And what I mean by that is, take, for example, a tortilla chip like Doritos. Doritos are like made in a lab to give your tongue the most intense sensory experience it can have, which means that you can mindlessly eat Doritos and not be present with them and still get a hit of the sensory experience. It will register through all your not paying attention to it. So their overindulgence tends to happen in part because you're trying to have that experience without not fully being there. You still want to be in your head. You still want to be in your intuition if possible. You still want to be sort of disconnected from the moment, but still get that chemical hit, right? And alcohol will do that too, right? It's not a matter of the flavor. It's a matter of it pulling you out of your driver function and into it. It's like it will not be denied. So you're looking for these overindulgent, cannot be denied experiences. And what you want to do is you want to dial that back by having more subtle experiences that require you to be present to the moment. Like if you eat, I know they always say, eat fruit instead of Doritos. And it's like, why would I want fruit when Doritos taste so friggin' good? And the answer is, in order to truly enjoy a piece of fruit, you have to be present with it. It's not going to give that chemical pop. It's not going to smack you in the face with its flavor. You have to sort of pay attention to the flavor and pay attention to the texture and enjoy it by being fully present. And that's usually the need that's going unmet for this function. It needs to be fully present. The reason why it likes adrenaline is because adrenaline makes it fully present. The reason why it likes effortless flow is because effortless flow requires presence. So that's really the need going unmet. And if you can train yourself to do that for this part of who you are on a regular basis, a few times a week, if you can train yourself to get into a space of presence, then you'll find when you have to be there in, more stressful situations, you won't immediately go to something that's indulgent because that won't be your muscle memory anymore. You'll go to a place that's like, okay, I'm tapped out. I'm super stressed here. My driver function is starting to nod off. I'm going to go separate from the rest of life. I'm going to give myself a moment and I'm going to do the thing I've been training myself to do, which is be present to the moment. And I'm going to do something healthy that gets inside my body that allows me to just enjoy the fact that I'm a machine, that I'm a thing that gets to travel through the world and have its own experience. I get to engage and interact with the environment. In fact, I get to merge with it. I get to hand myself over to the flow of the universe. And I get to have these really awesome max aliveness experiences with adrenaline. That's all a blessing. And I'm going to appreciate that blessing by allowing myself to be here in the best way possible, not get forced into this place and do it in sort of this indulgent, hyper overclocked way that isn't really healthy for myself or anyone else.
Now, what the challenge is going to be in this, as you start to do some of these activities, is you've trained this little 3-year-old part of you to be responsive to certain things to make it happy. So I remember when our daughter was 3 years old, Antonia, she would throw a fit. And some of the things that we would do, like it was very hard not just to hand her maybe a phone or a device just to get on and like push the colors and the buttons or play a little bubble game or something, or to put a binky in her mouth or to give her a piece of food to calm her down. Like, as a parent, you learn all these little tricks so I can get them to be quiet and not freak out if I just do the thing they want. The challenge is she can get addicted or trained into wanting that specific thing now to calm her down. And so we learned that early on. As at a 3-year-old level, we went, oh no, now she can only be satisfied by this lower grade activity that we wired her for by giving into it. So it took even more effort to correct that with our daughter over time. So you might find this in yourself. As you start to do some of these things, it may take a lot of effort up front to retrain that little 3-year-old inside of you to go, I want indulgence. And it's used to getting that.
Yeah, it's going to spit the fruit out.
Right? And metaphorically speaking, although maybe literally as well. And it might throw a little fit, even though you've quote unquote given it the healthy thing. Part of you has to retrain to accept the more healthy aspects of the expression of this part of your personality. So just know that I think it's going to be a struggle. It gets worse before it gets better a little bit when you're working on that 3-year-old process and you're trying to open it up for more healthy things rather than indulgent things. I think it's going to get more intense for a period of time as you're still working to untrain this part of you before you can retrain it to the more healthy expression.
Yeah. And a lot of the programs that we create for people's personality types really go into a healthy relationship with this part of who you are, because it's actually a leverage point. It's actually really important. Our relationship to our 3-year-old function is part of how we get energy for life. And so we also recommend that if you want to go further down this rabbit hole, you can check out some of our programs, and especially the ones that are type-based, to help you build a healthy relationship with that 3-year-old function.
Thanks, Lydia, for the question. You can ask your own question about personality types or personal growth. Visit personalityhacker.com/questions. We also have programs designed to help you with your personal growth through the lens of personality types. Again, visit personalityhacker.com and find the program that's made just for you. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
Thank you for listening to 10-Minute Type Advice by Personality Hacker. We'll talk with you on the next episode. If you're focused on personal growth, I think you'll resonate with our core content over at personalityhacker.com. We want to see you understand how your mind is wired so you can generate motivation, improve social skills, find career opportunities, and master excellent decision making. But a quick warning, we are advice and action focused in all of our articles, podcasts, and videos. This means that we attract people who like to be challenged to become excellent, to take action, to put in the work to optimize themselves, not simply just gather more information. If you are committed to personal growth and ready to radically find your inner truth, then come over and be a part of our growing community of like minds at Personality Hacker.